who's his favorite target going to be? Oh, we just are speculating.
Speculating? You're hanging out with me too much, man.
I'm going down
You're
a
on
spiral
fire.
of...
You're on fire here.
I'm falling off a cliff here, so I'll have to stop talking.
You've had a long weekend. Oh, yeah, baby. That's right. It's Chris Sims Unbuttoned. It's episode 501. Ahmed is here. We're not speculating or anything like that. We're just getting right into it. It's top 40 countdown today. There's no speculation. I can't believe you made an error like that. Speculating.
Yeah.
Speculating.
Yeah.
That is a really good one. You are hanging out too much with me. I don't think I really appreciated that until hearing it back right again. And it's like when you misspeak.
Yeah.
It is jarring, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
the show comes to a halt.
Well, we expect me to misspeak. I can't speak clearly. We need to stop the show when I say a sentence the right way. You are like...
Yeah.
You're a pretty damn smooth talker.
I'm supposed to be a Mike Tirico in training.
Well, you're always Johnny Host.
Yes.
I mean, even when you're not hosting, you're a host.
I'm a host.
I mean, if I have you in the barn and we were having a party in the middle of July, you'd still be the host.
I'm welcoming. I try to get everyone talking.
How are you today?
Yeah.
Well, Catherine, this is Chris's daughter.
I don't think I talk quite like that. But yeah.
I'm having fun. But when, I hold you to that Tirico standard.
I hold myself to that standard.
Costas, this man has never messed up a word in the English language ever in his life.
I think it happens more than you hear.
Yeah.
Maybe you just don't pay attention. Thank you for that. Yeah. But yeah, with all this travel and back and forth, there's going to be more of it. There's going to be more of
How could there not be? I mean,
get ready for it.
You're traveling all around the country. You're working hard.
Yeah.
You got a little of the sniffles today.
A little bit,
yeah. Because you were in a disgusting plane twice this weekend again.
Like 3 times, like Kentucky Derby. Like everyone got sick last year for Kentucky Derby. I haven't heard this year, but we got Preakness this weekend, too, so more traveling this weekend.
Wow, and are you doing baseball on Sunday?
Yeah, and then we go to Cincinnati. So I've got about an hour and a half to get from the trophy ceremony at Pimlico Racecourse to a Southwest flight headed for Cincinnati. So we'll see if that happens. I don't know if it's going to work. It's half an hour between the airport and Pimlico.
There's no way. They're going to expect you to be there for the after of the race this time?
I'm doing the ceremony.
You're doing
the
ceremony.
Whole thing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, they better have a fill-in for Sunday.
My heart's going to be beating so fast.
Wow.
I know.
If you're not watching and only listening, listen, Ahmed is like Mr. Professional.
Yeah.
And is always happy to do anything. But when I said, "Oh wait, you got to go the next day," you gave like you put on a good fake smile and a laugh, and you're like, "Yeah, I do. I can see it. Yeah, it's a lot of work."
About it. No. If it goes well, you're happy you did it. Right? It's always if it goes smooth and the show was good, you're like, "I'm glad I did that. That was really fun. That was crazy, but it was fun." If it's a disaster, then you're like, "Why did we do that? Why did we even try?" But I think it's gonna work. It's gonna work.
Yeah,
it's gonna work.
Yeah.
You know what's really gonna work?
What's gonna work?
This is what the host does of this show. Your top 40 quarterback countdown this year.
Oh, that'll work. You know it.
People may disagree, as they do every year, and we invite that.
Of course.
We invite people to chime in and throw hateful messages because it's all towards you. It's not towards me or Morgan or Kristen or Pete
just
or Matt
me.
Casey. It's just to you.
Yeah, that's right.
So we previewed it a little bit last time we talked. For those that may not have heard that or are new to the podcast, hello, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
What we do every offseason, what Chris does is he sits in his barn, he writes down all the names of the quarterbacks in the league, starter or not, and ranks them 40 to 1 or 1 to 40. Maybe.
I chip away. It's a process.
You start with Jimmy Garoppolo at 20, and then you go above Jimmy and below Jimmy. It's like that's how you sort of begin with.
I do this, though. I write every quarterback in the league down. And I put it all on a sheet of paper. And, of course, I have the team above them they're on. And I start to just whittle away, cross people off. Okay, this person, there's no way they're in the top 40. This person's on the top 40. Yeah. And then I whittle it down, and I get down to, like, 58. And then usually I get down, and I think I told you this a little last week, where I usually can get down to like, okay, wait, I think I got 45 guys here that are legitimately in the top 40 countdown conversation. So now I just got to nitpick here to cancel out 5 guys. This year I got done with the process, and I think I told you I was at like 55 or 56, where I went, ooh, I have a little more guys here that could, be in the running, and slowly but surely chip away from there. Then I start to get into, okay, let's do all 32, like, perceived starting quarterbacks.
Yep.
Let's rank them a little bit. So I get a little ranking of just the 32, and then I have the other ranking of the guys that are the backups or whatever. And then I slowly start to tinker together and put it all together when I go, okay, I think I have my order of the backup guys the right way, and I have the starters the right way. All right, now some of these backup guys are better than these guys I have on the starters, and then where am I going to start to put these things and put it on the list? And I just start to crack away that way. It was a year where, and I think I've said this before, the top 10 was, I don't want to say easy, but I felt pretty good about it pretty quickly. I tinkered with it, of course. I did. You know, it's a year where it's 9 through 20 is extremely close, and then, like I said, some of these back end guys. There seemed like there was more of a lower middle class this year for me in the process, where I went, man, there's a lot of guys that could be in the 32 to 48 range here, depending on who you talk to or what you like at quarterback or whatever else, right?
Yeah.
And that made it hard on me this year.
Which is good for teams, because we often say if you have a shot at making the playoffs, you got to have a pretty good backup quarterback. You think there are more quality backup quarterbacks this year than maybe in years past?
I think so. In other years that I've done this exercise, yes, I came away this year going, man, I'm going to leave this guy off the list, and he's a good player. Like you'd want this guy as your backup quarterback, right? So that's where it did seem a little different this year, maybe than other years.
We'll talk about some of those honorable mentions later on, maybe as we go, because we don't like to give things away.
No, right. We don't want to do that. So we don't want to hit those today, for sure.
So we'll dive right into it. And again, this is team independent. It's taking the quarterback out of the situation.
Yep.
This is not a prediction of what their stats are going to be or who's going to look the best or who's going to win the most games. This is if you had a quarterback draft, knowing nothing about the rest of the team, who's calling the plays, which quarterback would you take number 1, 2, 3, 4 as you go?
Exactly right. That's how we're doing it. It's basically a 40-man depth chart, right, for the quarterback position.
Yeah.
We're all on the same team, and I'm going to choose that. And then, again, I know, yes, certain guys got different strengths or weaknesses or whatever else, and that's where I got to use my experience and things I've learned and taught and seen my whole life to start to nitpick and make a little difference out of those type of situations.
Yeah, and if Patrick Mahomes was on the Houston Texans instead of the Kansas City Chiefs, theoretically he would be in the same spot in the Chris Sims quarterback rankings.
Well, yeah, that's where usually I get in trouble every year, is because we have those type of things where I go, wait, this guy's a really good player. It's like Matthew Stafford was that guy forever, right? Nobody could see that. You're a Detroit Lion quarterback.
Yeah.
Where Lions fans saw it because they're watching it on a weekly basis, and they're going, oh, we would have lost by 30 today if we didn't have Matthew Stafford. But the rest of the country's just watching the highlights going, oh, there's Stafford throwing a pick late in the fourth quarter, and you're like, yeah, but the Lions fans are going like, yeah, but he threw like 30 like jaw-dropping throws that kept us in the game. Like, there's no way we would have been in the game. And then people say, well, they went 5-12. It can't be that good. And it's like, what? Are you kidding me? So those are your examples. And he's maybe the prime example there for a little while.
So the same as every year, we're doing 40, but a little different.
Yeah.
We're doing tiers. So we will group them even a little more accurately or
you and Pete love tiers. Yeah, you guys love tiers, right?
You're not on board with the tier.
No, I am. I am. Actually, do think it adds to the context of the situation a little bit more. It makes it a little more fun to see who is grouped together.
Yeah.
And how you view them. And there is something there that brings it all together as far as people are in the same tier, right? Like, I just think about the draft process and the running backs, right? With Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs. Everyone's like, what? Like Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs got overdrafted. Hey, but I'm not just saying just me. There's other people out there too, where we had them in the same tier. Bijan Robinson was better, but Gibbs was in that class, right? Yeah. To say like this isn't shocking that he's being drafted in the top 20 here, and I think that's where it adds a little context too.
So I think we should give the tier when we get to the last player of that tier, so it doesn't totally give it away here, right? So, Pete, you think that works? So, there's two players in this tier.
Yeah, that would give it away right away.
We won't say yet. So, we're going to start at 40.
Right.
And this is the Tom Brady tier. So, 40 is Tom Brady, emeritus.
Brady was 41. I crossed them off.
I mean, you have to consider, this is not, you have a team, have a job or not. Maybe no. Tom Brady is not going to be in this top 40 list for the first time in
Forever.
Yeah, in the
right.
history of his career and as long as Chris Sims has been doing this.
Exactly.
All right, we start at the bottom, and then we go to the top.
Started at the bottom, now we're here.
Chris Sims top 40 quarterback countdown. We start at 40.
At number 40.
And that is
Desmond Ridder, quarterback, Atlanta Falcons. Of course he's a quarterback, Chris. You an idiot. It's a quarterback countdown, right? But yes, Desmond Ridder, 40. And hey, it's a second-year quarterback who didn't play very much as a first-year quarterback. So again, these are some of the tougher parts of my process here. You know, yes, he is the starting quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. There's no doubt about that. What he is, what he is as a player, there's not a lot of video evidence to go off of right now, right? Other than, hey, we got the preseason, we got the end of the season where he played his 4 games and got some good reps there and everything there. But he's really, you really break it down, we're talking about a rookie. It's still a rookie quarterback almost. Right? Rookie plus. Yeah, he got a year of seeing what it's like to be in the NFL and see Marcus Mariota's approach on a weekly basis, and all those things are good. Desmond Ridder, I think the first thing I would say about the guy, and this goes into my rankings, he's a quarterback. He's made to lead people. He's got great personality, right? I think he's the kind of guy that, doesn't blink or, oh, wait, I'm playing bad and people are jumping on me. I think he's a very even keel. Nothing really affects him. I love that aspect about him. Let alone, I think he's got leadership qualities, toughness, all that too. Now, with, his football on the field, there was improvements from last year from what I saw in college. There's no doubt. Like when I started to put film on him and Desmond Ridder and start to just, write little notes and things that jumped out to me about him, yes, mechanics improved from college. I had issues with his throwing, right, coming out.
He was number 5 for you in that draft class, behind Matt Corral, Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, and Sam Howell.
Yes, right. So
I think he's better than that now.
I think he's definitely better than that. And he's on an upward trajectory. And some of the things that I saw that were issues for me, they did get better. I talked about a lot, there's some mechanical issues that he had at Cincinnati where he doesn't create the opposites between the upper and lower half like we talk about. Turn your front shoulder. Still not great at that, but it's better, right? He had a very long, elongated motion. It was kind of like a windmill in college. It's still too long for a really awesome NFL quarterback, but it's better. It is. There's no doubt about that. He definitely tightened it up and has an ability to get the ball out of his hands quicker on a consistent level, not even comparable to college. And then the other thing, too, is, throwing the ball with more authority, right? That's the other thing I see that I like in the improvement. Now, none of that is consistently good yet, though. That's why he's 40, okay? If you go back and watch the 4 games he played last year, he was managed like a rookie. It was run and run and run and bootleg and run and let's throw a screen pass and let's run another bootleg and let's throw another screen and let's run 8 plays in a row. So, that's why again, for him to be here in this class, again, he's a rookie in my eyes to a big degree.
It's going to be the same thing this year, you would have to imagine. With the running game, he might look better than this ranking right here.
Definitely. Then that's where, he's a guy that could get me in trouble here because they could be they could be good enough, and like they were even in some of the games he played at the end of the year, where they can literally run the ball 8 plays in a row and be like, well, no, we're good enough to we're running it here and you can't stop us. So, and then, oh, whoa, there goes Kyle Pitts wide open of a play action pass. And we go, oh, Desmond Ridder's awesome. He's 1-0. And he was 9 for 10 for 190 yards and a touchdown, right? But here's my big thing is the arm speed did pick up. I did see more pop on the football. But yes, totally being managed. I expect to be totally managed here. And I still have questions about his ability to consistently make high-level throws, right? Especially game-changing throws. And then being just consistent with maybe not even, I want to say the high-level throws, but just the medium-level ones, being consistent with them. Because that's another thing. When you go back and I watched last year, I go, oh, here's a completion. But I go, well, damn, this guy's open. He has to reach way behind him. Or he has to slow down. Or he has to go to the ground and do all of that, right? So, there's some things there that need to be refined in his game, and they obviously think he can do it.
Yeah, started 4 games for him last year. At the end of the year, they went 2-2 in those games. going to have a pretty good running game. You would think, with as much as they've invested in the offensive line and Bijan Robinson and what they did last year with Algier. There were some rumors maybe that they would be in the market for a lot of quarterback movement. Maybe Lamar Jackson, a trade.
Yeah.
Maybe
I don't think anybody bought that they were really going to go all in on Desmond Ridder early on in the offseason.
So this is what Arthur Smith said about a month ago. He was on, I believe this is on the Rich Eisen show. He goes, about Desmond Ridder. He won a lot of games in college, helped Luke Fickell at Cincinnati, really changed the whole culture of that program.
Right.
And I certainly think that experience, you start with that many games, coming in helps. We certainly saw that early on as we threw everything we could at him, and he was impressive, and we felt that he was ready to take over at that time of the season, and I thought he did a real nice job, cool, collected, under pressure. So I guess they saw enough in that 4 games to feel like, all right, we got a run game. He can move this offense. He can be more than serviceable, and he can be a great leader for us. And so they were comfortable.
That's what he is. You know, that's what I tried to kind of say. Those are the positives about him. Definitely, I could see that at Cincinnati. I've already heard that, and some of those type of comments from people in the NFL that I trust.
You interviewed him at the Combine.
Right, and it jumped out to me there. I think that was one of the first things I said when I got back. Desmond Ridder has the culture part, lead your locker room guy down.
It's 2 years in a row now. You talked to Desmond Ridder, liked him, ranked him 5. You talked to Will Anderson next year, you liked him, ranked him 5.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. Don't be nice to the agents. Don't let Chris Sims interview your player.
Don't be nice to him at least, right?
Right. Something like that. But, I think they see all those type of things, and I think Atlanta is one of these teams, Ahmed, that we've been talking about. That we bring up every now and then. I don't think they're going to go all in on the QB thing. I think they're starting to look at it and go, wait, let's go a different route here. Let's build a great team and just have a guy that's, a good leader and can get it done. And, he might not be Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, but there's only a few of them anyways. So I think there's a few teams that are, like, coming to a little bit of, like, I'm not sure if we can always chase this bright, shiny object. We got to start to build the team that way.
Are you hinting at an Eagles blueprint, perhaps? Am I sensing that a little bit?
Well, I think between that and with the 49ers with Brock Purdy.
That's true.
And I think teams are starting to think about that a little bit. Instead of going, wait, are we really, in reality going to find one of those special guys, right? We know there's very limited few. It's limited. So they're going to go with a guy that they believe in the human. And they see enough talent to go, we think we can do this around it, right? I think in Arthur Smith's perfect world, he's just hoping, hey, hopefully this guy can be a Ryan Tannehill. Because I bet you in Arthur Smith's world, he goes, you can win a Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill, right? And I think that's where he's looking at. So we just got to see now, again, even to what some of the stuff I wanted to hit on just more physically, right? He's got to improve in the pocket a little bit, and that does have to do with the quick release a little bit and just finding the right spots. He can be quick to run. And, I'll say another reason I use that for, he's not as good he's a good runner. It's not a great runner. I know he had some big, long runs at college, but I think people expect him to be some special runner in the NFL just because he ran a pretty good 40 time. He's a long stride. He's a build-up speed type of guy. Either way, they got their guy, and he fits within the mantra of their football team. Under the radar, tough, likes football, going to do the right thing, going to listen to the coaching, and believe in the game plan overall. And I think that's what they want at quarterback, and that's why Desmond Ridder's their guy.
I would love to see this work in Atlanta. I would love to see a run-first team that's doesn't throw the ball all that much and is able to win that way.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think, again, Arthur Smith, where he came from in Tennessee, he's going, wait, we were, in the AFC Championship game, playing that way, running the ball, defense, run the ball, play action pass, run the ball, bootleg, run the ball, and he believes of that. So I don't think he's going to change from that, and they're going to give Desmond Ridder his fair shot here.
So Desmond Ridder is alone at number 40 in your ranking. He is not alone in his tier.
No.
Because this tier with 2 people is the Show Me More sophomore tier. So at 39, you have...
The Show Me More sophomore is Sam Howell here at number 39 from the Washington Commanders, right? Very close. And again, like Desmond Ridder, it's what are they? Ridder, I have a little more information as far as, yes, there were some more reps and games that he got to play, certainly. All right, Sam Howell.
One game for him,
He got the one game.
11 of 19.
Exactly right.
Touchdown, interception.
Yeah, played the Cowboys in a game where, the Cowboys could have maybe, if things fell the right way, could have improved their playoff standings. But ultimately, they knew they weren't, nothing was going to happen. It was kind of a meaningless game for the Dallas Cowboys when it was all said and done. But, a very encouraging beginning.
Yeah, it was a win.
It was a win. He did well. He made plays. He moved well in the pocket. There's things about his play and quarterbacking and physical ability that I just think are better than Desmond Ridder's, right? That's why I got him up there. Like what I talked about with Desmond Ridder, being a little bit better in the pocket and feel that way. Sam Howell's a natural at that stuff. Even like didn't play the whole year. You go back and watch that game. He slides the right way. He finds a little, oh, wait, if I move here, I can get this ball out and make the throw. He's got he's aggressive decision maker, right? I think he's a better thrower than Desmond Ridder. That's really the main reason I got him a spot above. I think, one, he's got a little bit better feel overall as a total quarterback, just playing within the pocket. And then I think he is a little more versatile and consistent of a thrower. Sam Howell, there are some mechanical things that I wish he was better at too, right? But he still can be in an awkward position and just get the ball, get it completed, get it done. He's got a little more pop in his arm than maybe I gave it credit for coming out in college. He's a underrated athlete. He really is. We kind of talked about him as like being a bigger version of a Baker Mayfield, right, when he came out and all that. And, he showed that a little bit, in the preseason and in that last game against the Dallas Cowboys. He moves well, sneaky well, where you go, okay, he's not as fast as Sam Howell, as Desmond Ridder, but I want to say his elusiveness and his ability to run, it might be more dangerous than Desmond Ridder when all said and done. I think there's a lot of encouraging things with both of these guys that we're talking about here. I'm a little more encouraged with Sam Howell, I think, and just the way his skill set fits into the NFL. And I think that's the reason I got him 39, over Desmond Ridder.
He reminds me so much of Baker Mayfield.
Right?
And I don't know if that's just, because
there's
of the way
a lot.
he looks.
Yeah.
And his face.
Yeah, his body type.
Baker Mayfield.
His body type is that way.
Yeah. A little bit the way he plays.
Yes, it is. Now, his throwing is not like that.
Yeah.
He has a little bit of a wind-up motion as well and never really gets his shoulder to the target. But the ball comes out of his hand clean, and he controls it pretty damn well for the most part. He throws well with the pocket collapsing. He's pretty fearless with people around him and going to hit him. He's a tough SOB that way. So that's where I'm intrigued with Sam Howell and what he can do there. Sam Howell could be one of those guys that was, third rounder, and all of a sudden we're sitting here 3-4 years ago where you go, whoa, this guy's one of the, he's a damn good quarterback in the NFL. And I think between his movement, his aggressive nature, right, even though the motion when he's in the pocket trying to make a down the field throw is a little long, if he's got to throw a screen or a quick throw, he can get it out of his hand pretty quick that way, and with this offense, Bieniemy there, right? I'm excited for that too. Those receivers that we've talked about, them going down the field, he's a good deep ball thrower. That's one thing he did at North Carolina a ton, and that's where I'm excited for his potential in that department.
Yeah, he's got De'Ami Brown
exactly
in Washington, and so I think much like Desmond Ridder, might look better than the 40th ranking because he has a run-first offense that makes it a little bit easier on him, some play-action stuff. I think Sam Howell could do that, too, because of the weapons that he has.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel. Then you got De'Ami Brown backing him up. Got some weapons in Washington.
Definitely some weapons. We know they started to run the ball. They improved their offensive line in the offseason.
Yep.
So there's a lot to like as far as that is concerned. Right now, like things that I see that I just like from the preseason and the regular season that I go, ooh, this is where I wish he could improve a little bit or whatever because of that motion. And he stays so wide open and just throws like this, right? He stays like, if he has people in his face or you go into preseason with people around him and he's just got to stand on his back foot and maybe flick a throw, he's not as good at stuff like that because he doesn't know how to incorporate his upper body all the way. So it's just his arm acting as an independent contractor, as I like to say from time to time. And that's something I'd like to see him fix. But either way, he's a pretty natural at the position. He's got some thickness and some stoutness to his body that makes you think he can hang in there and take the physical pounding. And he's just got a good feel for the game overall that I really like in Sam Howell.
So you've mentioned a few things that they can do to improve.
Yeah.
And you'll mention that, I'm sure, as we go on in this list.
Yeah.
And so D-Magic7 has a question for you.
Right.
And how does that actually happen in the NFL? Can you briefly tell us how a quarterback can improve on the major quarterback attributes that you like? So obviously it's going to be different depending on what you're trying to improve.
Right.
But what is that process like for a pro quarterback? Because sometimes I think about, once you get to the pros, you're supposed to execute. I don't know how much learning you can do and, tweaking of this and that. It seems to be a lot of quarterbacks fall into the habits that they had through college because that's what's got them to this point.
There is a lot of that. I think it's easier to change now more than ever because some of these guys have coaches and quarterback coaches in high school and college, and they're able to adapt, and people are staying on them more in the offseason on a daily basis to kind of fine-tune these things, right?
Yeah.
So I think there is more of an avenue to get better maybe than the old days, all right? But, like, the biggest thing, and again, it's repetition. It's working. It's what are you trying to get better at, right? Like, hey, we see why is it that we see college players come in every year? Oh, they can't really improve as a three-point shooter. Well, this is what they were in college. They can't improve. Of course they can. They're going to get in the gym, and they're going to have a coach there that's going to be like, get your elbow in. Get your elbow in. Don't let your wrist flop so much. Whatever. Use your legs more, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you get in the NFL. Now, the one thing that we get is the Sims family because we have some pros that throw with us. Almost every one it's the same thing. We've had some legends of the sport work with my dad and my brother and these kind of guys. You know what every one of them wants every time they come? I want to be able to throw the ball harder. I want to be able to throw the ball harder. I want to be able to throw more power throws. And, of course, not lose control while doing it, right? And then that's where the mechanics come in. So to our @DMagic7 there, right? It's a good question. But, yeah, this is where how do you get better? It starts the season's over 2 or 3 weeks later. You got to start throwing footballs. You got to get in like 1,500, 2,000 throws before OTAs start and become a machine in a new way. And, that's, again, the things we talk about. Keeping your front shoulder in, keeping your arm angle the right way. If you want to throw the ball harder and be more consistent with it, you know what you have to do? You got to throw the ball hard. You got to practice throwing it hard all the time. Like I saw with Desmond Ridder, and I talked about that, he improved his arm speed. Again, because in college, and I had this thing with Deshaun Watson when he came in at Clemson. People are open, so I can just smoothly throw it in there. He's open. We're Cincinnati. We're better than everybody. Oh, he's open, right? And then you get to the NFL, and the first few practices, coach is like, why didn't you throw to him? You go, well, he's covered. And the coach goes, that's open in the NFL, buddy. That's wide open. So you got to adjust your thought. And then players start to go, oh, okay, whoa, all right, so I gotta throw that in there. Like I gotta start letting it rip, and having the confidence that I'm gonna control it. And that's where you having the right people around you to work on those things, you can get better.
Off the top of your head, who's a quarterback who you think improved the most throwing the football?
Oh,
that you've seen in your not playing now, but just like.
Through overall.
Like you saw him at one point, and then maybe a few years later, you're like, man, that guy can really heave it now. He's changed a lot, and he's a lot better.
I remember one of the first ones I'll throw to you, who was always a gifted arm, became a passer. Randall Cunningham, all right? I mean, Randall Cunningham was like, whoa, laser, whoa, he's fast. Oh, my gosh, he threw that ball 80 yards. It's amazing, right? Yeah. But then he got to the Minnesota Vikings, and you were like, whoa, precision, accuracy. Whoa, he threw a laser here. Oh, man, he threw it off his back, right? So Steve Young was somebody like that. I mean, Steve Young, they had to, start at square one if you really read the history of Steve Young at San Francisco. His motion and the ball was so wobbly and everything was everywhere that they basically had to reprogram him that way. So those would be two just right off the bat from old school quarterbacking that I think of. Think about Brady. He's messed with his mechanics. If I showed clips of Brady in 2004 and then showed you a clip in 2012, you'd go, whoa, he has a different motion. And then if I showed you 2012 and we went to 2017, I'd go, look, he tweaked it again, right? So the great ones are always Mahomes 2 years ago. We talked about mechanics being bad and all over the place. He knew that. He knew he didn't throw the ball as well as he could 2 years ago. What did he do last year? He obviously got working, and he didn't throw anything but spirals and missiles all over the field last year, right? Because everything was the right way. So, these are things that can work on. And, of course, the more natural and better at you, the quicker you can make adjustments and improve in those areas.
We saw it with Joe Burrow, too. Threw the ball a whole lot harder coming back from his knee injury.
Right. I talked about it last year with him. I visited him, right? And he said, I made it AFC North, the weather conditions what I knew I was expected now to have to make throws in the NFL. So he tweaked with mechanics so I can push the ball and throw more lasers to Jamar Chase for big plays in the game.
So we'll see if the Show Me More sophomores
can show
sophomores
us more
in 2023.
That was a good tier
name
right?
by
you. That was very well done.
Pete and I put our heads together and we got that one.
Right.
So our next one was all you, and we'll get to that in a little bit after we reveal all the quarterbacks in this next tier. But we got 3 quarterbacks in this tier. I think most people are going to be familiar with these names. You should be with all the names, right? These are the quarterbacks, the stars of the NFL. So let's just jump right into 38. Who is your number 38 quarterback right now?
Bryce Young, Carolina Panthers. That's right. Number 1 pick of the draft. All right. Yeah. I mean, again, Bryce Young, like we talked about, natural at the game. You know that. Now, I know people are going to go, well, wait. He hasn't played in the NFL, so how can he be better than Sam Howell or Desmond Ridder? And I want to go, well, listen, there's a reason the guy's the number 1 pick.
So let me give credit here to Corey Joskowitz, because he knew that's what's going on in your head. And he knew that's what people are going to be thinking. And you can read the homies' minds as well.
And Corey's a homie. He's always listening.
Corey is back on Twitter, too. I think he shouted out to us, so hello, Corey.
What up,
He
Corey?
goes, if you were trying to do less projecting, how does that change the calculation for including rookies? Can you confidently say that Bryce or CJ or Richardson are better than the 40 quarterbacks who have already been in the league?
No, well, there's only a few that I can really say and feel good about that. And as you can see, there was only 2 guys that I was willing to put them ahead of at this point. But I didn't think the gap was that long there. Again, what I just said about Desmond Ridder and Howard, they're basically rookies still.
Yes.
Howell played 1 game, right? He didn't get much. I mean, his scout team reps that he didn't get very much of anyways didn't make him that much of a better player in that last year. He's still in square one with the rookies. And after, they just learn how to get out of the huddle and do that, they're going to be right there with those guys, right? Let alone they have better physical ability, in my opinion. So that's where I go, once we just get through, hey, they learn the basics of the playbook, they're going to be right on level with those guys, because those guys are still going to be doing a lot of the basics of the playbooks, even right now in OTAs, even though it's year 2 for them.
Yep.
So that's where I get it. And then even the like I was explaining with that, there's more talent than some of these guys are going to be bringing up to where, okay, yeah, I know Desmond Ridder and Sam Howell might know a few more tricks of the trade or something just from that 1 year. They might know an inkling more. But does that make up for what the team can do with these other 3 guys' talent and some of the things they can manage within the game too? And these other guys are going to have to be managed as well anyways. They're going to be managed, these 5 guys we're talking about today are all going to have to be managed to a degree.
Yeah.
So that's where I can, confidently say that.
So I think this is another point where we can reiterate the fact that this is for 1 year only. And I think if people were taking this as you get this quarterback and now he's your franchise quarterback for the next 10 years, it's a different ranking for Bryce Young. But this is, you only have him for this year and this year only, and then when next year rolls around,
we're talking about
you're
right
picking a
now,
new quarterback.
this area, right now, this general time frame right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
1 year. Are you going to have Bryce Young be your starter, or are you going to have someone who's done it before?
And there's a little projection here involved. I understand that. I'm trying to stay away from that, like I told you here. But it's minimal projection. This is not me going well, I think this guy's going to be Sam Howell is the 18th best quarterback in football, right? That would be a projection. That would be insane to just throw that out there. We're going off of what it is right now, right here in this era, early training camp, late OTAs, and I'm basing it all of what I've seen from last year and that play there. Yes. Yeah. And I know these 3 or these rookies and Bryce Young haven't played in the NFL yet, but it's not going to take long for them to catch up to speed here.
And I don't think we have to get into too deep on the things they do well and don't do well, because we just talked all draft season about all those things with these rookie quarterbacks. Right. But, you are a little bit wrong, because we do have some evidence of what he will look like with the Carolina Panthers. King36 says,
we got evidence of all of them now.
Did you see the video the Panthers posted on Bryce Young's first snap in practice? He looked like a high schooler. He says, ooh, can he really be elite being that small? So we're showing it now if you're watching on Peacock or YouTube. He does look tiny. Now, forced perspective, he is farther away from the camera than his offensive lineman, so that doesn't help. If he had rolled to the other side, it would have looked better. But he does look small.
Well, yeah, and he's going to look even smaller when it's actually the starting offensive lineman in there, and it's not a bunch of just rookie Patroop guys there too as well. So, listen, I'm not going to lie. It's the first thing that I thought of when I saw him. And when I saw this clip, I just went, damn, whew. He's small. I mean, yes. Now, like we talked about, he's used to being that size. He knows how to play, right? But you guys, there's no doubt that every coach on that team took the field this weekend and the thought went through their head, whoa, man, he's small. Whoa, we took him with the number 1 pick. Whew. All right, Bryce, let's go. Let's have a good day here, baby. I mean, there's no way that didn't go through their head. There's no way. There's no way they didn't look at that and go, whoo, that's our number 1 pick. Okay, we got to believe in what we believe in here and go, right? I mean, it's scary. Now, it's uncharted waters as far as that's determined. I'm excited, like you said, we're not going to break their skill set and all that because anybody that's been listening to us, we've broken this guy down a ton through the last 7 weeks. But I'm excited to see their offense and what it looks like with Bryce Young. And I would think it's going to be more shotgun, Alabama, spread the field, take advantage of his abilities of RPOs and screens and getting the ball out of his hands quickly and make the game more of a space game. That's what I would expect. But maybe they have a different vision there in Carolina.
It would have been nice to see what he would do with DJ Moore, but he was part of the trade to get Bryce Young. So I don't know. Has there been any chatter out there? It's like you got Bryce Young. They do have Andy Dalton.
Yes.
There too.
Right.
I mean, do we know? We don't know week 1 yet. Or
They've
what the
been
plan
saying
is.
Andy Dalton. They've been saying Andy Dalton. Frank Reich this weekend, though, did say that Bryce Young was going to, when they were all there, he's going to get a lot of the work. He's going to get more reps than Andy Dalton. So he's going to be with the 2s, right? He will get all the 2s. He will eventually start to creep in to get 1s, right? Like if Andy Dalton, let's just say say it's a 20-play period. And usually, let's say the first quarterback gets 10 reps, and then the second quarterback gets 6 reps, and then the third one gets the last 4. After the first day, I bet you they cut down Andy Dalton and go, hey, you don't need those last 3. He'll take 7. Mm-hmm. And then Bryce will get the next 10. Where he'll get like 1 or 2 with the first team, all his with the second team, and then he might even get a rep or 2 of Matt Corral's third team guys because they're going to get up to speed. And they want him to start week 1. They can say all they want, and they'll say all they want right now. But they didn't take him number 1 to sit on the bench, and I think he'll get every opportunity to be the starting quarterback.
They're in a weird spot, too, because usually a team that picks first is in a rebuilding phase, but they traded up to get that pick, and I think they felt like they have the talent on defense,
right?
And they just got to take a step forward on offense, which I think is a main reason why Frank Reich is there right now. So that may be a good team to look at their schedule early on here, because if Andy Dalton does play in the first week or the second week, or if it's Bryce Young, like who are their opponents? So I think we have the
I got it right here too.
Panthers schedule.
We got Falcons to start, Saints.
Falcons, and then Saints Monday night.
Right.
And then at Seahawks.
Yeah. I mean, again, Falcons are one of those teams where most people are going to look at it and go, oh, they should win that game. And I'm going to go, no. Atlanta is one of those teams that might have won the offseason. Between the draft and free agency, they're going to be ready to go. I know I'm not sitting here trying to say they're a Super Bowl team, but and the Saints, we know that's a good defense. They're good. So he's got some challenges early on. We'll see where it goes. And then that's where if he doesn't get up to speed or they don't feel comfortable with it totally, that's why they got Andy Dalton. And Andy Dalton played really good football last year. And he will be on this list. I'm not gonna. I'll throw that out there. He's on this list. He ain't there today. But, he's on here.
He's been on there in the past.
Hey, of course he has. Yeah.
I wonder where he was last year. Pete, where was Andy Dalton on the list?
I was just missed last year.
Oh, he just missed last year.
He was like a 41 or 42 last year.
Okay.
He was. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right.
He made a little rise this year.
And he didn't play all that terrible
No,
last
he
year.
did a lot of good things. He did.
So he's in that big group of
He's in that group of others, that lower middle class, lower class, right? Where you go, hey, there's good here, but yeah, it's tough differentiating some of those guys there. I'm excited to see Bryce Young. Hey, he's slick. He's a natural at the position. He's got a lot of different releases. He's extremely smart, pre-snap or post-snap, whatever you want there. And, I just think it's a matter of time. Listen, I really think he's going to have to fail to a pretty big way for him not to be the starter in the preseason.
What they got to start doing now is, they did all the interviews with Bryce Young and at the Combine, watched him work out. You got to bring him to your camp invite all your offensive linemen, have them stand next to each other just so you're not shocked the first time that he takes a snap. Just be like, let's just get this. Let this sink in. Okay, he is small. He's still doing this. They're still doing it. They'll try to win with Bryce Young at Carolina. So you only had one quarterback ahead of Bryce Young in your college rankings this year, your draft rankings, and so he still remains ahead of Bryce Young. 37 for you in the Chris Sims top 40 quarterback countdown.
CJ Stroud, Houston Texans, the number 2 pick in the draft, right? You know, again, I love CJ Stroud. Yeah, he was my number 1 quarterback. Coming out. CJ Stroud, to me, I mean, he's in a spot here where it's a great offense for him. The Shanahan play action, be aggressive, throw the ball that way. That's perfect for CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, is awesome in the pocket. He is just a pure bullseye thrower of the football. And that's where I'm excited for him. Not only, again, I know there was a lot of talk about his S2 and all that, but, man, it's hard to think that the S2 was real when you watch him on film. It's very few bad decisions ever. It's very few like, whoa, he didn't see the field or the coverage the right way. I mean, it's really impressive what he does in that department, right? So I'm excited for CJ Stroud in the long term for sure. I think he could be a star, definitely. But hey, it's a learning curve here. And he's, like a Bryce Young, going to have a lot thrown on his plate. And he's not going to have the advantage of being on Ohio State's football team and all of that. And he's got some learning to do here. But I think he'll clearly be the starter from day one. He's just a better version of Davis Mills. And, again, I think what he did in college, it wasn't maybe as advanced as Bryce Young, but still pretty good. He's got a pretty good base of NFL football playbook in his brain.
So much like Bryce Young, we can scout some tape on CJ Stroud. We scouted the quarter-speed bootleg rollout for Bryce Young.
Bryce looked like a player in what I saw. I mean, again.
CJ, you mean?
CJ, excuse me. CJ would have made me feel a lot better about how he looked on the field compared to Bryce, right? I mean, look at this giant of a man.
Well, there's no one around him, though. They were smart. They didn't put any offensive linemen there. Yeah.
Right. You got the spat job going there, right? He's so mechanically smooth and perfect. You see how effortless and flawless his motion is.
He looks good in that helmet, too.
Right? He looks good altogether. He does. He looks like a pro already.
I like that number,
too. So that's like I said. I would have felt a lot better if I was the GM of the Texans when he walked on the field than maybe the Carolina one where I'd have been like, oh, my gosh, that was dicey.
There were some concerns with him under pressure, right, in college, and I think we have a graphic.
Which I don't really
that
get.
In the past.
I don't really get it. I mean, I don't this is where I challenge some of the grading companies that are out there. I want to go with
some of them. You don't want to name names.
Well, they're all of them. I mean, all of them. It's where I just the classified pressure and all of that.
Yeah,
it's such a broad subject. There's so much context to it.
So just randomly, I'm just going to say that we just have the stat from Pro Football Focus related to nothing that you were just talking about, and they have 75% of the time about he was in a clean pocket, but 25% of the time he was in a pressure situation. And in those times, he was only 41% completion percentage. His yards per attempt were half of what they were in a clean pocket, and just 6 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. But you take that with a grain of salt because you've always said to me, and I've learned this from you, how are you classifying pressures and all that?
And then what is he being taught against those pressures?
Yes.
Right? That's the other thing, too. Bryce Young, I can look at some of the plays and go, oh, yeah, they got a pressure. But look, his O-line and everybody, they got everything fixed up, and they blocked it. Ohio State, they might have had the same blitz, right, the week before in a game, and they just go, we don't really think they're going to blitz that a lot. Or if they do, just throw it hot to Marvin Harrison Jr. And it's like, oh, the other team didn't know that they might throw it to Marvin Harrison when we blitz, right? So they got 2 guys or whatever. So the answers could be different, how the teams coach to handle those pressures. Some teams just go, hey, if they blitz, screw it. You got to get the ball to your hand, and we'll live to play another day. Other teams go, hey, if they blitz, we want to take advantage of this, and we're going to stop this blitz and teach them not to blitz anymore and gash them one time. There's just so many different things that go into that pressure, let alone like you're talking about. The pressure, I don't know. I mean, there's plays where I want to go back into the Michigan game and the Georgia game and other games where I'm going to go, is this not pressure with the people collapsing around him and him throwing a 40-yard laser down the middle? I don't get it. When is it pressure? So I did not have any problem with that at all when it came to CJ Stroud. I thought it was one of the things that he was actually the best at.
Yeah.
When people were around him and he was under pressure in the pocket, he was unfazed, and he still threw strikes all over the football field. So I think he's made for the NFL in that capacity. He's a high-level thrower of the football, and I'm excited for what he can do in Houston.
I'm perusing the internet for recent news on all of them, and the thing that pops up for CJ Stroud is that he's not speaking at the rookie minicamp. D'Amico Ryan's telling everyone, hold your horses, brother. When they asked why CJ Stroud is not going to talk at minicamp, he says he's not the only player that we drafted. We've got multiple guys we drafted. We want to let you guys talk to all these guys, and CJ will be able throughout the spring, later in the spring, also in training camp, so he will be available. Hold your horses, brother.
Okay.
So they're protecting him in Houston right now.
Yeah, well, maybe they just feel like there's been enough on him. Everybody's been talking about him here. They just want him to get playing football here, worry about that, and he'll have plenty of time in front of the media, and they'll be able to pepper him with as many questions as they want.
Pete has given him a red flag. It's a bust now. Potential.
He's a bust?
Yeah, the fact that he's not talking at rookie minicamp, it's time to trade. Sell high. So you got CJ Stroud at 37. You got Bryce Young at 38. And we can now say what this tier is.
Let's say it.
Well, you say it because you came up with it.
Oh, you're scared? Yeah, he's scared to say this.
I'm not scared, but it's your deal. It's your show, and you came up with a tier.
Well, it just happened randomly, but this is we will be finishing up the NFL virgin tier here, right here.
Exactly.
These guys are virgins.
Very descriptive.
It's first time. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. All right, so they're learning.
Yeah, they're not even talking about it yet. It's too embarrassing.
That's right. They haven't even had the talk yet.
So 36 in your NFL virgins tier. The final player in this is?
I know this is going to surprise people.
Surprised me.
I know it did. Anthony Richardson.
Okay.
Indianapolis Colts.
So this makes no sense to me.
I know.
So he was not your number one quarterback in college. In fact, he was not 2 or 3.
Yeah.
He was 4 behind Hendon Hooker.
Yeah.
What have you, Hendon Hooker in the NFL virgins tier?
See, virgins. Hooker's not here.
All right. So explain yourself, Chris Sims.
Okay. See, this is why context does matter. And again, these rankings doesn't mean what I think these guys are going to be 2-3 years from now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, with the way I ranked them, I think CJ Stroud's going to be the man in 2 years, 3 years, right? But where I just go right now, and we're doing, again, it's about now and this moment and, this general area of life we're in. Anthony Richardson's adjustment to the NFL is going to be easier than the other two because of his ability to run. It is. They're going to have something to rely on that's real positive and going to simplify the game for him that way. So because of that, I think there's going to be, an easier developmental process, an easier ability to maybe have success and, have a real effect on the football team right away, right? Yeah, his game is not going to be as much about I have to read the pocket, be in the pocket perfectly and read the coverage the exact right way, right? Because he's going to have the advantage of, whoa, here comes Anthony Richardson behind Quentin Nelson. Oh, and Jonathan Taylor's leading up through the hole. Oh, whoa, 6 yards. Oh, they did it again for 8 yards. Oh, they handed it off to Jonathan Taylor. Oh, look now, there's 10 guys at the line of scrimmage on the defense because they're so worried about the run. Oh, boom, he just throws a curl rat over here versus one-on-one coverage, right? So that's where I think that helps his transition early on. Again, if I was going to rank them basically just all on, they all have to drop back and pass the ball 40 times a game, no, he wouldn't be there. But, I think between that skill set, it does give him an advantage here. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what Nick Sirianni and that attack brings with Anthony Richardson. Of course, we know it's going to be Jalen Hurts, right? But what other wrinkles does he have? And that's where I give him the advantage there. Because of his ability to run, his size, and all that, I think he can have more early success preseason, regular season, and they can slowly bring him along in those areas that we talk about he needs growth in.
I think that's a good distinction, and it makes a whole lot of sense.
It does?
Because
okay,
I think
good.
a lot of times,
because I was worried when I did it. I was like, man, people are all going to think this is weird, and that was my thought behind it.
You know what? It makes sense to me because we often do this with your top 5 quarterback list. We look after the rookie season and be like, all right, how would you re-rank these guys?
Yeah.
But maybe it's just a matter of, some of these guys are well set up to excel right away and are going to look like the best quarterback, but CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, year 2 and 3, you still think long term you would take CJ Stroud, Bryce Young over Anthony Richardson.
I would. Yes, yeah. I definitely. I mean, I love CJ Stroud as a player. I mean, I absolutely love him. Yes, but no, they're not going to have the advantage of he's gonna have defenses that are gonna be like, oh no, they're gonna throw it here. We're gonna with them. We're gonna do this coverage and drop this guy or disguise this and do all that. And Anthony Richardson on the same play, they're gonna go, well, you can't do that. You gotta just stay there because they might run the ball right here in the C gap. We can't be disguising and dropping out. We'll end up getting gashed for a 70-yard run. That's where the game will be different for him. And yeah, that doesn't mean it necessarily translates throughout his career into year 2 or 3 or 4. But off the bat here, I do think it makes it easier.
Anthony Richardson cleaned up at an event too. Did you see that news?
No.
He stayed it was an event that they were having. I don't know exactly where it was. Oh, NFL Rookie Orientation Program.
Oh, right. Okay.
So the room was kind of a mess when the rookies got done with it.
Right.
Anthony Richardson said that we left the room in an unacceptable condition. It's not right of us to expect the staff to clean it all up. He stayed behind. He cleaned it up.
Wow, that's very mature of him. Was that was just for the Colts team, right? It wasn't like a whole NFL. They didn't have the NFL Rookie Symposium yet, right? I don't think they did.
I don't know. I think maybe they did.
Yeah, maybe they did. They've changed some of that around. So, I mean, that's really – if it was a whole NFL event, that is like going above and beyond. And I want to be like, that check they're going to fine you for next year. They could have had somebody clean the room for you, right? Okay? So
right.
don't worry about giving them too many apples on their desk. They don't really like you that much, all right?
All right, green flag then for Anthony Richardson. Okay, so I would love to look at the measurables again for Anthony Richardson just because I think it's crazy.
Oh, it's insane.
And it's like if we're going to talk about Anthony Richardson, we have to look at the octagon for him because it's basically all filled up with gray here. We should give it a different color here because I think it would be even more impressive then. But
make it pop.
The fact that he's in the 99th percentile for quarterbacks for vertical jump, broad jump, 98th for 40-yard dash, 96th for 10-yard split, and he's a big dude too, like not height-wise necessarily, but weight-wise, 244. That's in the 96th percentile. I mean, we have never seen a quarterback like this before.
Never. And 244, and like if he really wanted to lift weights and go like let me like put on a little mass. I mean, he's the kind of guy that could be 260 probably in no time. Like does a few weeks of squats and power cleans and some heavy bench press, and all of a sudden you're like, damn, is he our D end or our quarterback? We've never seen anything like this. I'm pumped, and I think it's what you just talked about with him and cleaning up the facility or whatever else. I think that's why everybody was pleasantly surprised by Anthony Richardson. His maturity, his love for the game, his knowledge, all of that, I think really popped to people.
So now that we've done these 3 rookie quarterbacks, what each of them, what are you looking for each of them? With Bryce Young, with Stroud, with Richardson, and who knows if he starts right away. Gardner Minshew is there with the Colts too. Yeah. But like, what are you looking for first thing when you see him play? Like, what are you looking that they can handle?
Young is all about the size stuff, right?
Okay.
And what like Alabama, you could play a game there and drop back 50 times a game and really end up only being in he was in the pocket under pressure with people collapsing around him 2 or 3 times the whole game. There's gonna be more of that in the NFL. There's no way to avoid it. So that's the first thing. It's just, when the pocket collapses, can he still find people to throw the ball? Can he still push the ball down the field that way, right? Those are the things that were underwhelming. Like, pocket collapsed, it was almost, let me just look for the dink throw, the dink and dunk throw, right? Where pocket collapse CJ Stroud, he was like, no, I still have another, I could pat the ball one more time. This 20-yard in cup's about to come open. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get hit, but so what? That, to me, was their big difference. So that area. And then the power throws that I talked about with Bryce Young, just some of that. There's just not a lot of that on film.
Okay.
I'm not talking about a wide open 40-yard crosser. That's not I don't mean that as a power throw. Okay. I'm talking about, what I talked about at the time. Yeah, the crosser into a tight window and the pocket's collapsing. Can you get it in there, right? Oh, wait, I got somebody in my face. I got a guy running the go route up the right sideline. I need to throw a laser at his back of his head and a back shoulder, right? Off my back leg. It's few and far between.
Can he show it off in the NFL?
I want to see that. Exactly.
What about CJ?
Exactly. CJ, I think is
Just
more
number one thing. Yeah.
I think is probably the backyard stuff to me. When you said it to me, I just went, CJ's almost the exact opposite. Yeah. It's like, hey, it's kind of collapsing. Get out. You're fast. You throw the ball on the run well.
We saw it for one game against Georgia in the semifinal.
Right. And then we talked about it at the time, too. He even did it in the Michigan game a little bit. They lost, so people didn't make as much of it. But he got out of the pocket a few times in that game and made some very good throws, right? But, yes, that's what it is with him. And, the tendency with a guy like that too many times is because he is big and strong, and he knows he's such a great thrower. He doesn't ever want to give up on the throw, right? To where you have to go, no, hey, no, just get out and find the check down here. Or, hey, get out, and then maybe you could set up and throw that way, right? That'll probably be the biggest thing I watch for CJ.
And Anthony Richardson?
Anthony, I think it's just more the processing of coverages and going the right place with the ball, right?
Can he pick apart a defense?
How
quick does that come along?
Exactly right. Like like we talked about with him too. You saw some games and quarters where you went, "Ooh, this was flawless," and then I'd turn on another game or a quarter and go, "Ooh, he looked at the wrong side of the field 4 times in this drive," right? So those are the things that we got to see him grow in.
Denbro fan, Florida.
Denbro fan, Florida
says to you. Besides in-season play, this is my favorite thing to watch, listen to of the year. How cool is that?
That is very nice.
Well, Denbro fan, Florida, we appreciate you writing in.
Thank you very much. Denbro fan, Florida. Is that like Denver and Florida? Or Denbro fan, Florida?
It could be a combination of both of them, yeah.
But I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that.
And then he says, was there anything from film watch that surprised you for quarterbacks 40 through 36? So the rookies, you've watched a ton of their film in college. You did go back and look at Ridder and Howell.
I go back and watch everybody.
So I was gonna maybe expand this one a little bit.
Yeah.
You go back, you look at film of all these quarterbacks just to see, maybe make sure they're making the right reads or their balls coming out.
There's a few things that I'll go, oh, that's right, that bothered me during the season. He's got to fix that mechanics. There's just thoughts that come out.
Yeah.
So, I dance around a little on all of them and go back and watch.
Were there things that surprised you when you went back and watched this year? You're like, wow, I didn't really realize that this happened. Or
I didn't give Ridder the credit for his arm speed and letting the ball rip like I talked about. Like, I don't know if I appreciated that at the end of the year. It was Atlanta, or it was like, they're not in the playoffs. I don't know. I was watching those games, but not deep diving and like, let me really study Desmond Ridder, right? So there was definitely appreciation for me to go, oh, no, he definitely fixed some mechanics, and he's definitely put an emphasis on, I need more arm speed, and I can't just like throw this, 70-mile-per-hour changeup all the time, right?
Yep.
So that one was one that jumped for me, maybe more than any of the other ones. The other guys was just let me go, the college guys is let me just go back and refresh, and is there anything in my notes or anything that jumps out to me?
Yeah, and
we'll get more into the specifics with the other guys.
And as we mentioned before, it's like you may think, Desmond Ridder 40 in a list of 40 quarterbacks, what a bummer. But you said there's a lot of quarterbacks that didn't make your list that maybe have made it in years past, have the talent to make it.
Definitely.
And you liked what you saw from Desmond Ridder more than all those guys.
I'm not going off of what they potentially might be. You ready? That I'm done with that. I can't. I have no. I'm not a fortune teller. I can't do it. I'm going about what I've seen, what I know, and that's it, right? I know I took some liberties with the young quarterbacks. I get that a little bit. But like I'm saying, in my experience and being around the NFL, it's a minute liberty that I've been around and experienced and seen everybody else where, they're not that farther along for me to think that just because they know, a few more things in math class or whatever, these guys can get out here at recess and do some things that you can't do, right? And that's where I think there's a gap there that gets bridged.
We'll get into the honorable mentions as we go.
Yeah.
Some of the names that won't be on the list will become apparent.
Tom Brady.
But there are 12 quarterbacks who made the top 40 last year who will not appear this year. That's a big turnover.
It is.
We only had 7 not make it from 2021 to 2022.
There's some fringe guys, like I said, and just some guys where I was like, okay, like I know what this guy is now. I know his name, and everybody thinks he might be top 40, but he's not. And these guys got more talent and some other things that are more positive about them. So, yeah, you'll see. There's some surprising names on the, honorable mention list.
All right, let's wrap this up with a few Ask Me Anything questions, and one is on your top 40. Got a couple here from homies that have questions on their team or their favorite players. But this one is from Edward Rowland. Said, what is your go-to deciding factor if two quarterbacks are pretty much rated the same? Also, are there any other topics where you would consider making a top 40? Oh, maybe, yeah. Maybe Pete has noted in our rundown here, top 40 weed strains. Are there? They're not 40 of them, are there?
Yeah, there is.
There are 40 of them?
Definitely. Way more than 40.
Really?
Way more. Hundreds.
But like,
Thousand.
Is it like this wine thing where it's just like, oh, here's this wine, I taste them all. I'm like, it all tastes basically the same to me.
Some of that, yes. And then they cross pollinate now too. So it's like, Sour Diesel with Blue Dream becomes Sour Dream. And it's like, well, we got a new one, right? Yeah. So that's like that's what happens in that world.
Is it how they taste or how they affect you?
A little bit of all of it.
Okay.
There is some of that. I'm more about ultimately how it affects you, right? Yeah. But if you have two that affect you the same way, and then you go, oh, wait, this one's a lot smoother when it's, you smoke it and inhale it compared to the other one, you'd favor that one. All right. So, hey, but back to the original question on football. So Pete boring. Weed.
Yeah. You are Pete notes here. You are the sommelier of weed.
Yeah.
The smoke melier.
I am considered that in some of my friends' circles. All right.
We got sidetracked. We got sidetracked.
Yeah.
All right. So what if you got two quarterbacks? You're like really having a hard time deciding who to put where.
Yeah. Well, that's where my film will come in. In handy, right? Like. The two we talked about today, it's a perfect question. Ridder and Howell. I was kind of like written down a few rough, copies and rough drafts. And, this guy, I put an arrow. Maybe I should put that guy there. And I just went, I'm just going to watch the film here and just let it talk to me. And that'll be it. It was nitpicky. It was close. And what I went with more than anything was what I told you during the breakdown. Sam Howell's feel in the pocket, Sam Howell's ability to control the ball with some more high-level throws, I think ultimately is what made me feel more comfortable about him.
Yeah.
Right? But that's a very dependent question there, It could cut, Edward, there could be guys where, the physical ability is the same, and then I start to get into just like, all right, well, what guy do I trust more? Who makes the better decisions here? They have the same arm, the same kind of escape ability, right? Who's it depends on who we're comparing. That was my example for the day between Ridder and Howell.
I like that. All right, some players, some questions on players. Brant Partial says, hey, Chris.
Yeah.
CJ Henderson's play has been underwhelming thus far.
Uh-huh.
What is your take on his play, and do you think he can still live up to the hype of the 8th overall pick? So you were high on him coming out of college, correct? Out of Florida.
Yep.
Was drafted in 2020, 9th overall by the Jaguars, and now is with the Carolina Panthers. What was that trade?
He was with Jacksonville, and they traded him like midway through the year for some mid-round picks, I'm going to say, 4th rounder maybe, somewhere in that range, right? Henderson's ability is there. Henderson fits a little bit of the Oregon corner this year, or even my guy from LSU, Christian Gonzalez, and the Texans' 3rd pick of the draft last year.
Oh, Derek Stingley.
Yeah, Stingley, right? Where CJ Henderson taught me a little bit about those guys. CJ Henderson's physical ability was through the roof. He had a little bit of that too cool for school. Oh, man, he got me in the double move. Let me get out of the screen so I'm not on the highlights. That, to me, the edginess is what is missing from CJ Henderson. That would be my biggest thing, right? Because the edginess not only shows on the football field, but guess what? Like what edginess usually shows too. What do edgy people do, or guys that are edgy that want to be good at their work, right? They work hard behind the scenes because they got an edge about them. That guy beat me last year. He's never going to get open again, right?
Yep.
And that's where you can glean some of those things from film and go, oh, I think the person's probably like that too. And that's something where I think, CJ is missing a little bit of that edge that I see in some of the top corners in the game.
Yeah, what were they last year? They were 7-10 last year. They were knocking on the door of the playoffs. There were 3 7-10 teams in the NFC South last year, including the New Orleans Saints, LA 504 Animal, welcome to the pod. Says, hey, Chris and Ahmed, with the schedule release and the potential of their roster, I see the Saints being able to be a top 1 or 2 seed in the NFC. I know the Niners and Eagles are more talented, but have a harder road. What do you think? So we'll be able to pop up here the New Orleans Saints schedule. Of course, sometimes it's who you play, and what kind of division you're in. I mean, who is the favorite of the NFC South right now?
I mean, right now it's probably the Saints. They have the only quarterback that I think people have any confidence in.
Tampa won it at 8-9 last year.
Right. It's a crap conference.
Right. Here's their schedule: Titans,
Saints?
at Panthers, at Packers, then Bucks, at Patriots, at Texans, Jaguars, at Colts, Bears. Not too scared about that schedule.
It's not bad to get some early season confidence, right? You know, there's no doubt about that. I think they are one of these teams where, you know, again, like Atlanta a little bit, where I'd go, yeah, they're hiding, they're under the radar. There's some attributes about this football team that I think are, you know, better than what people are giving it credit for. Just because of last year, and hey, they blew some games last year. They got nobody to blame but themselves in some of that. You know, they were a fringe playoff caliber football team. They were. O-line is legit. D-line still got some size and some killers there. You know, Demario Davis still a good linebacker. The secondary's good. Now you get Michael Thomas with Olave and Rashid Shaheed and Jawan Johnson at tight end, right? Alvin Kamara still there. They got Kendry Miller. I would not be shocked if the Saints won the NFC South. Now, to say 1 or 2 seed, I don't think I'm that bullish on it, right? But I certainly see them as being one of those teams where put a little star next to them, like team that didn't make the playoffs last year that I certainly could see making this year.
Washington was on the outside looking into the playoffs last year. They finished 8-8-1, which would have won the NFC South. So they just needed to switch divisions. Got a question on them from One the Mums. Says, you were critical of Dust Up Del Rio last season. Now he has Emmanuel Forbes and Quan Martin in the backfield to support his 4 first-rounders on the defensive line. What are you expecting from the Commanders next season?
I mean, hey, listen, I made fun of Dust Up early in the year. There's no doubt. I mean, first off, his comment pissed me off. So that pissed me off. Sorry. But you know me, I can't hold it back. I just wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm trying not to offend anybody that way. Right. But no, he righted the ship. They played some really damn good defense down the stretch. Yeah, with not the most talented secondary in football. We know that D-line's real, right? You know, that's where, again, Emmanuel Forbes was not my favorite guy in the draft at corner, but for them it makes sense. That's where I didn't get mad, right? They're primarily a zone defense. They want to do that. This is a guy that has tremendous ball skills. He's got length, right? And he's got great speed. That's usually a great fit for zone. Yeah, his hips and change of direction aren't that great. Okay, well, he won't be playing that much man-to-man. He's just going to be in his area. So that's where it fit for him. And then I love me some Quan Martin. I know he got excused this weekend, I saw, or something from the rookie minicamp for some personal family issue. I hope everything's okay there. But, yeah, those were 2 big improvements. And this is a defense that's, you know, again, definitely top 10 talent on roster. Yeah. You know, with these guys, if it all pans out, yeah, are they right back in the top 5 in football defensive conversation? No doubt about it.
I mean, shows you how good that division is, too, now, because the Eagles are going to be picked to win it. Dallas probably number 2. The Giants are probably going to be picked to finish higher than Washington, and you just gave all the compliments for why you like Washington this year.
The NFC East, the one thing they always do for the most part is something that I believe in. They're a big people division. They always kind of have been. So, you know, they might not always be sexy, but like what we've learned for the most part, you know, is nobody pushes them around much. Yeah. And that gives them a chance, if you manage the game and do things the right way, to kind of hang in there. And, yeah, there's a lot of big people in this division.
From the big person division to the cold weather division, the NFC North, although the Detroit.
2 of them play inside because it's too cold.
It's too cold. It's just too cold for that. But it's not that we can't. It's just that we just choose not to. It's more comfortable.
Sure.
Jacob Woolsey says, NFC North is a big mystery this year. With Rodgers gone, which team do you see controlling the division for the next 10 years?
Whoa.
Look into your crystal ball. Well, obviously, it's the Detroit Lions.
Well, the Lions are really set up in a great way. I mean, they are.
Kind of, but there's no controlling anything for 10 years unless you're the Patriots,
10
right?
years is like, it's like, I don't want to never give anybody you got Patrick Mahomes? Do you have Peyton Manning? Do you have Tom Brady? Do you have John Elway? Oh, then maybe 10 years you can control a division, right? I'm not really willing to say anything for 10 years. All right, I will. Let's have like in the realistic NFL world for the next 4 to 5 years. I think your Lions are probably set up the best, right? But there's some other teams here in that Green Bay's set up pretty good too. Yeah. As we've discussed here a little late, Green Bay's roster, and listen, they had a lot of other things that affected them last year. They're still a good football team. They're not going anywhere. The Bears are certainly trying to make their climb, but I think if I have to bet, I'm with Ahmed. I mean, he's wearing a Lions hoodie, and
I've got my colors on
today.
Right,
but I really do believe that. The way the O-line set up, you got some young talent on D, young receivers, right? Running back young, tight end young.
Yeah.
You look at it and you go, damn, you guys are definitely set up to be the more talented team in the division for the next 4 to 5 years.
I can hear Vikings fans screaming at their podcast player or their screen if they're watching on YouTube or Peacock right now.
But they know
13-4. I know. Maybe they weren't 13-4.
Yeah.
But if they were 10-7, that still puts them in the mix.
Right. It's funny though. Vikings fans, I feel like just from social media and of course working with Flory and all that, right? Where I think they finally realized what their team was last year. It took a little while, but once they got away from the season, they were like, "Yeah, how the hell did we do that?" And they joined the chorus of all of us.
Yeah.
Like, well, you're right. How the hell did we do it? There's some good things there, but they're probably the team I look at in a lot of ways to go, I don't know where it is. It's like they need the defense still needs to be flipped over. You got the Dalvin Cook issue. You got the quarterback and what's going to be the long-term prospects of Kirk Cousins. So there's a few more questions in Minnesota.
I think the Jacksonville Jaguars will be one of the top favorites in their division. Oscar 904 says, do you think the Jaguars have what it takes to sweep the division? So take all those games. So beat Tennessee, Indy, and Houston 2 times.
They're clearly the team everybody's chasing. I mean, no doubt about that. Jaguars roster's awesome. They have their quarterback. He's really freaking good. Sweep the division? No. I'm not.
They went 4-2 last year.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there yet. I'm not going to. Indy's D is still good. Indy with Anthony Richardson and everybody adjusting to that life is going to be annoying. And how does this fend that and stop that? I'm not giving up on Tennessee Titans.
No.
Like, for people are just like assuming, what do everybody think? Like Tennessee's just going to fall off earth? I don't think so. I think Tennessee's still going to have a say in this. I'm picking the Jaguars to win the division. Don't get me wrong.
And did you see the Titans' schedule release? I mean, it was funny.
It was hilarious.
They
play the Red Stallions. That's a victory.
Part of me was like, everyone's like giving him all this praise. I'm like, yes, it was funny, but ultimately it was like
thanks to the idiots on Broadway
exactly,
in Nashville.
What the internet is good at is just like making fun of people.
We can find idiots anywhere.
Yeah, it's just like, here we are. We're an evolved species, but on the internet, just making fun of other people still will rule the day.
Definitely.
I
liked it.
I did too. I thought the Lions was good though too. I don't know if you saw that one.
I don't think I did. No.
They had AI, Dan Campbell, and artificial intelligence Holmes playing Madden together. So
okay,
it was actually very fun. Pete is very against AI, but it was a fun concept there. A couple more questions.
Yep.
Here, let's go to this one. It's about off-field problems. Sambivalent01 says, I don't know if you follow the NBA.
I do.
But a lot's been going on with Ja Morant and off-court firearm issues with all that's happened with Jalen Carter, et cetera, this draft season. What kinds of things do veterans do to ameliorate concerns with young players? We have a smart homie.
That is way too big of a word, Sambivalent01. What are you doing with that word? What say that?
Yeah.
Say that word again.
Ameliorate.
Ameliorate.
Which I think means just like get rid of, right? Just
yes. Sam Bivalent went to Oxford, and I went to Texas, and I got to learn that word, okay?
Yeah.
So I follow the NBA. Yeah. I do. I haven't seen this recent Ja Morant video.
I guess it was an Instagram Live where he was in the back of a car, maybe.
Right, and you can see a gun, and he was waving around a little bit, right? Yeah. And this is after
he said he's not going to do it anymore.
2 other incidents that we've had this year, right, that have been little altercations or issues or whatever else. So, man, NBA is just one, I didn't play in the NBA. 2, I know players in the NBA and have been around that group and culture, especially when I was playing a little bit, that it's a different culture. You know, the NFL's a dictatorship. There's an owner and a head coach, and everybody says, yes, sir. Not in the NBA. NBA, I don't even know what you would say. It's not really a democracy. There's something else. Like, there's a king, and like the players can be the king more. They like the guy who scores 43 and is like the man, everyone just goes, you're the man. That's it. Hey, what did you say to do? Okay, you're the man. Tell us what to do.
They mean so much.
Well, one guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if a best player in basketball goes to a new team, we go, whoa, they're in the running for the NBA championship, right? I mean, that's how it's. So there's a different culture there. Football, and again, I'm not trying to discredit basketball. I have the utmost respect. You know this. I love basketball.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying the culture and the pecking order and the military way of the NFL is just different that way. Okay. Yes, one guy, unless it's Mahomes or somebody like that, doesn't dictate your team. Right. So there's differences there. And then, you got a lot more varieties and guys that have been around different things and experiences in your locker room because there's just more guys in general to maybe lean on or help you or go talk to you or whatever, right? Yeah. So, I think that's where, in a place where, hey, Memphis and Ja Morant's the man. He's one of the best players in the NBA. Do they have the same, what do I want to say, checks and balances that maybe the Eagles will have with Jalen Carter? And what I mean by that is like with checks and balances of like Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox being like, hey, dudes, no, don't go to that club tonight. You're going to get in trouble. Hey, we're going to my house tonight, barbecue. Like we're going to have there, we'll drink a few beers at our house, blah, blah, blah. Hey, Rook, are you seriously about to get in the car? You're making blah, blah, blah $1 million. Get an Uber. Or here's my boy Johnny. He'll drive you wherever you got to go. Whatever.
Yeah.
Right? I just feel like there's maybe more of that. And again, I'm speaking out of my ass to a degree here. Sure. I haven't been in an NBA locker room, but I've had a lot of NBA friends through the years. And I just know it's a little more individualistic and, not as team-based and traveling with your team and your guys as much, everywhere you go.
So players know that they're not going to be able to get away with it as much, maybe, or
I feel like there's just that
teams move on quicker.
Yes, the NFL has a little bit more of a stricter way about them, it seems. They just smack the gavel harder. Wait, you did this? Fine, suspended. Screw you. Here, give us more money. You're back that we gave you first, but now you got to give it back.
Yeah.
Right. It just there's more of that, and then I think also in the culture of like, again, it's just part of being an NFL football player. Like guys like Jalen Carter, he's had coaches yelling at him his whole life, and he's going to get to Philadelphia, and his defensive coach is going to tell him, "Hey, you dumb shit, do this, and don't go out and be an idiot tonight and do that." There's just a little more frankness in the talking.
Yes.
All right. So that would be my 2 cents.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, there's still teams that passed on Jalen Carter, and I'm assuming they all saw what you saw on film, that he was the best player in the draft.
Definitely, but they were scared. They're scared.
There's some uncertainty whether he can handle it in that locker room, if he's going to be a cancer in the locker room or not. So good question, Sam Bivalent. And ameliorate, Pete's looked it up, is to make something bad or unsatisfactory better.
Okay.
To remedy.
Right.
To rehabilitate, to improve. So I would just go with probably improve.
Yeah. Well, but that would be it.
But we wouldn't sound as smart as Sam Bivalent.
Teach him how to act, train, eat, where to go when you're outside of the facility.
Yeah.
Right? Certain people you can call if you got an issue, whatever else, and that's how they will help ameliorate Jalen Carter's issues.
If it goes bad, just ameliorate it.
Right.
Yeah, just ameliorate
exactly.
it. That's all you got to do.
When it's bad, ameliorate. That's what I say. It's a saying I got. I got a tattoo actually in my right rib that says that.
You and Kyle.
When it goes bad, ameliorate.
It is now. I can tell we're getting to the end of the pod.
We're getting delusional.
Final question is about weed, booze, and Jaxon Smith-Njigba.
Man, bam, and bam. They go together, don't they?
Sums up this podcast.
Poor
100%.
Jaxon Smith. Njigba, he gets thrown into that. He's like, what did I ever do to be thrown in there?
You're right. Hawkstrologer. Love the pod, Chris and Ahmed. Number 1, Chris, how old were you when you first smoked weed?
Okay. 16 and a half.
Okay.
I was.
Is this out there? Do people know this, or are you releasing this for the first time?
I mean, people do know it, but oh yeah, 16. I just don't remember it. So here, I'll give you the real story here.
Yeah.
I was going to a friend's house, Owen Corso, right?
Oh no.
He was Owen. Owen could always have a few people over on the weekend, right? Like
Owen's got roped into this.
Yeah, Owen got roped. He had a mom that was always like, he had older brothers, so she was used to like people being around, right? And okay, the high school kids are going to drink some beers or whatever. We had a friend, Teddy Guciara, who was played on my football team too.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, it's North Jersey. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, they know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got.
They'll be happy they're part of the pod.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Teddy Guciara.
There's no criminal activity. Actually, it is criminal activity.
He was kind of he was an offensive lineman who was. We had stoners at our school.
Okay.
We were kind of known as like the jock deadheads school.
Okay.
And then we had guys that were like kind of did both, where you're like, yeah, he's a deadhead, but he's a damn good jock too when he puts on his jock.
Yeah.
You better watch out for this guy.
Yeah.
Right? He's gonna after the game, he's gonna smoke a lot of weed, but he's gonna be good out here on the field. Right? And yeah, Teddy was like the offensive lineman. When I would scramble too much in a game, he'd always be out of breath and be like, would you stop scrambling? And I'd be like, would you stop smoking weed? Right?
Yeah.
All right. So
yeah, that's why we're out of breath right now.
That's why we're out of breath. Right. So but I went in the garage with him. I had never done it. And he was in the garage, and I just got there, and I was kind of been thinking about who I want to, and the football had just been over. So I was like, I'd always kind of wanted to try it. And I was like, who better to try it with him? I know he's got good stuff, right? And he had like some crazy looking pipe, and I was like, damn, this guy's got to be a professional. So I tried it, and it knocked me for a loop.
Yeah.
I mean, I think 30 minutes later, I was laying on the floor of the party, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're so big, your face is big. And I was laughing and doing all this crazy crap. The bad thing is I had a game the next day, a basketball game, which I don't know why I did. I had a basketball game, and I remember being on the bus going to the basketball game going, damn, I feel like I'm still high. And it was like 2:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And, but I never smoked before, and maybe I just felt cloudy, right? Damn, I played good, though.
You did.
Oh, man, I hit the game-winning three-pointer. Maybe it's because I wasn't thinking. I was just like playing, reacting. Yeah. But yeah, that was my first time.
If you could go back, what is it now, 24 years in that garage, would you have stopped Chris Sims from doing that night?
Probably not. No. There's other nights I would have stopped Chris Sims on, but not that one.
Yeah, that's low on the priority list.
I was good too. I mean, I was not like. Then I wouldn't smoke again for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
I made it like a every now and then thing where I'd be like,
sure.
Hey, let's smoke and go watch a movie and get some ice cream tonight, right? Like once every 10 weeks, so I'd do that. And then college, I was very light and few and far between until I got later in college. I started, messing with it a little more.
He goes number 2, Ahmed, same question for alcohol. So I was 19 at Michigan State University.
Okay. 19?
Yes. Yeah,
wow, you were you're such a good boy.
I was.
I know.
And still am to this day.
You still are.
I
you still are.
To this day. And it was when Michigan State, I was going there my freshman year.
Right.
They were in the Final Four.
Okay.
Basketball.
The team Cleaves, right?
Yeah. They did. They lost.
Right.
And so I had.
Did they lose to Florida?
I don't remember. I think it was either Kentucky. I think at Kentucky maybe.
Could have been Kentucky.
It was not in the championship game. It was in the semifinal game.
Right.
And I had half of a beer.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I ever drank, and I thought, I was like, man, this is really affecting me. I mean, it probably didn't affect me at all. But right after I drank that half of a beer, it was the riots at Michigan State where they burned a bunch of couches. I don't know if you remember about that.
I do kind of remember that.
And I just went out and watched people burn stuff.
Wow, okay.
So that was my first time ever consuming alcohol.
And just
and
beers.
The last. And the
just
last.
Beers.
Half of a beer.
Okay.
Pretty lame.
So it is lame. But when's the first time you got tipsy?
When I went to Syracuse the next year, I had a roommate that was 22 years old.
Right.
And he would just buy we had 4 people in our room. We were still in the dorms.
Right.
But he was 22 years old, and so he could go legally buy.
Sure.
And then every once in a while, the RA would pound on the door, be like, hey, you guys are being super loud, and then open the door and would see all these like beer cans around my friend, and we would just say he did it. He drank them all. And it was like, what could they do? He was legal. He could do that. He was 22.
Right.
So that was the first time that happened. And,
okay.
And yeah.
All right,
and the last.
And the last, if
Never
you're
done it
listening and you're Ahmed's family, he's never done it again.
And the final part of the 3-part question, and it all goes together.
Oh, it does.
Predict Jaxon Smith-Njigba's 2023 catches, yards, and touchdowns.
It's a great segue there.
Right.
He's got some people he's going to have to share the ball with here, right? I mean, listen, I don't think DK and Lockett are going anywhere as far as their influence in that offense. They're the kind of guys that are going to be around that 80 to 100 reception type range. I do think they're going to all lose some catches because Jaxon Smith-Njigba is going to take some of them. I'm going to say Jaxon Smith-Njigba. I'm going to say like high 60s.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, I do. Mid 60s, high 60s, somewhere in there. I could see him having like a 65 reception, 850-yard year, right? Something like that, or 800 yards. Somewhere in that range. I'm pulling up the Seahawks stats right now.
That's what I'm doing too.
Yeah, Metcalf had 90 for 1,048, and Lockett had 84 for 133.
Who was their third pass catcher?
It was Noah Fant at 50 for 486,
okay.
right? So,
right.
Yeah, I think he dives into Noah Fant's catches, and he will dive into DK and Tyler Lockett's as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're exciting about what as far as what they can be on offense this year. Man, they got some firepower.
You think he takes more from Lockett or Metcalf?
I think he's gonna take more from Lockett. I do. Yeah, I think that Lockett, some of the plays he got in the middle of the field is going to lose that now. They're going to go, oh, wait, we drafted this guy, and he's really good at the middle of the field, so you stay out there. And if you get one-on-one, we'll throw it to you. But if the safeties are split, we like Jaxon Smith-Njigba over the middle because he's big, he'll catch the ball, he'll break a tackle, and probably get 10 more yards, right? That's where I think going to happen.
Kenneth Walker had 27 catches last year, too, and he only played in, what was it?
10 games?
Oh, no, he played in 15 games.
It was that many?
Started 11, yeah. Must have been partial time, but he could have a few more. Hawk Stroliger, well done.
Way to go, Hawk Stroliger. Way to put it all together there. Weed, booze, and Jaxon Smith-Njigba. What goes better than that?
Exactly.
Yes.
It's a catchphrase.
You
have that tattoo as well.
That's right.
On your other rib.
I'll get there. That's my other rib. Exactly. All right, everybody. There you got it. 40 through 36. Chris Sims' Top 40 is underway. We'll be back Wednesday. We're going to release more. We got Connor Rogers back in the fold this week because Ahmed is going to the Preakness. And then going to a baseball game. And then coming back in here to do a pod again.
Oh, by the way, real quick, over the weekend, you got to say it on the pod, right? A huge moment, a huge father moment.
Oh,
you have to say it.
Oh, big Little Phil.
Yes.
Little Phil, right?
Yes.
Little Phil, who's just getting back in the swing of thing in baseball again. He game-tying homer, his first home run over the fence in left field.
What a moment.
Right, so that was cool. Yeah, he plays on a little travel team here in Greenwich, Connecticut. Playing a team, they were down 9-8, top of the sixth inning, right? He crushed one. This is his first big hits of the year. Had a triple early in the game, so that was good because he's between COVID. They had a year where they barely played baseball.
Yeah.
He hurt his shoulder last year to the point where we started, and he was like he had to get rehab. He had a real little issue with it, so it was basically like 3 years without baseball. And I give him a lot of credit. He's been hanging in there. It's been a lot of strikeouts, a lot of didn't hit the ball that good. He's just getting in the groove, pitching again. But his work ethic, his love for the game, all that is kind of kept him in there, and it's starting to pay off, which is always good to see.
That's cool.
Right.
I love that.
That's right. So that's right, everybody. Keep working. Do it for the love of the game.
Yep.
That's what we do it for. All right.
Be like Little Phil.
Be like Lil Phil. All right. Subscribe, rate, review. Okay. Ahmed, good luck at the Preakness this weekend.
Thank you.
Have fun. I'll be watching, and I'm going to be paying closer attention to the pit sweat. Okay. I hope you do.
Yeah,
I hope you do. I hope it's 110 there, and you throw your suit. All right, everybody, be good. Hit us up Wednesday. You know where to find us about the rankings. Clap it up.
Clap it up.
Yo, thanks for watching, homies. It's the off season, but there's no off season for us here at Unbuttoned. Me, Ahmed Fareed, we're going to hit all the stories. So hit subscribe for us, okay? We got a ton coming up. My draft prospect rankings, my Sims Top 40 quarterback countdown, and videos of me and NFL QBs playing catch and talking about their development and mechanics. Again, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe. Peace out, homies. See you soon.